Good evening, everybody. Oh my goodness, you've got 2 doses of me today. I hope you're sitting down. Tonight I'm joined, Mike's just gone, yep, I'm sitting down. You're joining us here again on Live with Obsessed, and tonight I've got this very wonderful man who's joining us all the way from the other side of the planet in the United Kingdom, Michael Bryan. I know him by another name, so I'm just going to call him Mike. But Mike he's an entrepreneur. He's not Batman. He's an entrepreneur. Oh, he could be Batman. He's an entrepreneur and he's a speaker with cystic fibrosis and diabetes. So like you stood in the line twice to get that double whammy, didn't you? But what Mike does is he helps people be seen and be visible, because if anybody knows what it's like to overcome adversity, it's him. And he uses all of the things that he's learned in his journey for people with their mindset, and so that they can go on and do the things that they want to do. Mike, thank you for joining me tonight.
I'm excited. I'm really, really glad that the opportunity as well. I can't wait to dig in.
Oh, awesome. Well, let's see where we go and what happens. So let's have a little bit of talk about your journey through business and entrepreneurship. I made light of it just then, but, cystic fibrosis is nothing to laugh about. When you as a kid, you went, well, what am I going to do for a living? Did you ever imagine that this is what you would be doing?
No, is the short answer. I had no idea. I didn't really have much direction when I was younger. A lot of it was just getting by, looking after myself. That was the main thing. That was everything. So whether it was morning routines, treatments, repetition of everything, medication, whatever it was wake up, look after yourself, get through school, get home, get to bed. It was that sort of environment, I suppose. So when it came to deciding what I wanted to do business-wise or anything else really, was it business or a job or whatever it was, I didn't have I would love to be a doctor. That wasn't on my list because I see enough of them. So when it was like, what do I want to do? And I was quite, I suppose, a dreamy kid, if you will. I was one of those that would make up games to play, and we do role playing where we pretend to be something, right? And I was one of those kids. And when someone asked me, what would you love to be? My head would just go to astronaut. My head would never go to I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or there was no I'd love to be a bricklayer. That didn't cross my mind. It was astronaut. That was the thing. And I'd never be an astronaut. I'd never be fit enough to make it, right? But when it came to what I wanted to do, that was it. It was about, what would you love to do? What do you want to do? What do you desire? That's the lens, if you will, that I thought I would go down. Whether I actually achieved it or not, it was about what do I want to do with my life rather than someone telling me what to do.
Oh, nice. I like that, because as when we grow up, so often we're told, study hard, work hard, get a good job, buy your house, get married, and go to work and die. Basically, that's what it always seemed like to me. It was that seems like a really boring way to live your life. I never thought to be an astronaut. I reckon that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of, because I quite liked space as well. I was quite a strange child. I like to sort of think big, if you will. From when I was 4, it was astronaut. Oh, look at the planets! Isn't that amazing? And it's just maths. And the only other thing that I really liked was sport, but that started off forced upon because I had to do it. It was, look, nothing's really going to be exercise for this kid. So said the doctors, right? They're like, look, you've got to keep him healthy. You've got to keep him active. So I do races at playtime, right? I would do all the after school clubs. I do all the PE. I did martial arts. I did football. I did cricket. You name it. It was, we've got to give this kid things to do. And that was all based on, okay, what do I want to do? But then in the back of my parents' mind, it was, keeping him active is going to be the way that he looks after himself. That's going to keep him out of hospital. That's going to stop him from taking too much in terms of medication. And that's going to be how he gets by. It's living the active lifestyle. That was what it was. And over time, it fed my ADD, I think. I was running around doing things all the time. It was, if I wasn't running, I was jogging and I was walking. I was doing something to get rid of the energy that I had when I was younger. And that formed a lot of my start in business. It formed a lot of that because I didn't have anything else to do. I wasn't good at anything else. I wasn't amazing at sport, but I had this knack of keeping up with everybody else. Now, I'm also not the tallest kid in the world either. So when I was like the midget of the school, right, I was still playing sports like basketball, like tennis, things that you wouldn't associate with someone that was small. And the first sport I got really good at was basketball. You wouldn't have thought it, but yeah, basketball was my thing. I was like 5'6", 5'7". That's like how tall I am now. So imagine me when I was like 10. I was just a smaller version of me, right? But I was good. I was winning. I was doing really well. And it was like this whole feedback loop of you do what you enjoy and you put your energy and your time and your effort into being good enough to warrant carrying it on. So I played for high school, I played for college, I played for university, and I was going to do coaching, which was my first step into business. It was coaching. That was what I did. It was sports coaching, but it wasn't basketball because I never got the chance to do the qualifications. There weren't any local to me, and my brother got me into playing tennis, which is another high energy sport, which take very well considering how old I was at the time. I was 16, so I was never going to make it. I was never going to be a professional tennis player, but maybe, just maybe, this coaching thing is the way to go. And I've done like a lot of coaching qualifications in school, college. There was coaching in the courses that I did. Sports being everything. I've not done anything else until the online business started. So I was a tennis coach, I was a personal trainer, and that's my first step. That was my first step into business, was sport, because that's all I knew.
What a great background and foundation in terms of discipline and developing that mindset to be able to build your own business, because in small business as an entrepreneur, mindset is almost just as important as startup capital, isn't it?
It is, and it's funny you bring up the mindset side, because over the last few years, it's been a case of, the conditions have helped me. Wasn't always that way. I never really thought about it in that way. But when you think about the discipline that it takes to keep doing everything every single day, whether you feel like it or not. I had days when I hated it, all of it. I just didn't want to get up, didn't feel like it, didn't have the energy, because the condition I can have a good day, and then I can have, the next day could be a horrible day. So it can fluctuate quite a bit. And when I realized that, I need to do this every single day, no matter what. So it has to be easy. It has to be convenient. If I've got to force myself to do it, it's not going to work, and I'm going to struggle. When I have a bad day, I'm not going to want to do it. And that compounds when you think about sport. So when I played basketball for university, I also played tennis as well. It was, okay, well, it's the 5 a.m. runs. It's the 9 o'clock in the evening runs. It's the working out every day. It's the basketball practice 3 times a week. It's the matches like every week or every 2 weeks. It's the traveling. It's the some games were home, some games were away. So you were traveling, you were going to these places, and you have to be able to perform and do your degree. And I had to look after my health at the same time. So if I worked too hard in the gym, as an example, I'd be too tired the next day to do like the basics because I pushed myself too hard. But that led me to, okay, you need to learn about how you operate. You have to be self-aware enough to know what your limits are. Obviously, I pushed my limits quite a bit, and that formed the backbone of how do I need to think. What do I need to do? What routines do I need to have? What's my self-talk before going into games, before going into matches? I've got to rehearse things. I've got to do things that reduce my nerves. I've got to do a whole host of stuff. This is not just about my condition either. This is as well as. So everything that I've done is like, okay, medication, treatments, bit of exercise, keep myself moving. And then I go, right, I'm also competing tomorrow. I've got more to do. So when people think, oh, I haven't got time, it kind of irritates me a little bit. Because it's like, look, yes, an hour or two a day is probably what I would need to keep myself okay. I can get by between like treatments and the time it takes to do all those. I have to go for a walk or two just to open my lungs so I can breathe properly and all those things, right? But then I go, right, I've got to train, I've got to exercise, I'm also competing, I've got to travel, so I need to prepare my food, my meals, my drinks. I could do with like some electrolytes in those drinks, so because when you've got cystic fibrosis, you lose salt quite quickly. So I've got to recoup all that. It's like your brain just operates like 10 times the speed of anybody else's, but that's normal. I have to do that. There's no other alternative. There's no other alternative because it's what I wanted to do. It's what I enjoyed doing. And when you enter a world, there are expectations. When you enter a world, there are standards. When you get involved in certain areas, you've got to meet those standards. Otherwise, you don't even make it. You don't even get there. And it is that 1%. It is the 1% that no one sees. No one sees me running through my routines for tennis. No one sees me making sure I've got my drinks measured properly. I've got enough. I time it. So I think about, right, if I drink this one in the first set, this one in the second set, I'll probably need to go to the toilet before the third set. So I don't want to drink it that fast, right? I want to keep playing. So it's so calculated. It's so measured. Yeah, there's a bit of OCD in there. But when you realize that it makes your life easier when you start to plan things in that way, you've got a reason to keep going.
Almost sounds like a superpower. Maybe you are Batman. Maybe I was onto something.
Well, over the years, it's got a lot easier because I don't compete anymore. I don't play that much sport anymore. I keep fit, but I don't go out and play tennis every week. And when I was tennis coaching, I would play like 4 to 5 hours a day. And then because I was competing, I had a coach as well. And I was also in the gym because the place I played at had a fitness facility as well. And it became a whole lifestyle. I was coaching, playing, working out. Luckily, it was all in one space. Luckily, it was all in one area. So it became very convenient and very easy for me to be at that level, which is, if it's too difficult, and you've got no pressure, you've got no reason to do it. This is why people talk about knowing your why an awful lot. It's not for the good days. Knowing your why is not for the good days. For the good days, you just do it. It's a piece of cake. No problem whatsoever. But when it's hard, and it's been hard for months, not weeks, people go, oh, I'm struggling to lose weight, and I've been training for 6 months. It's like, try 10 years. And you go, huh? So, like, it's not a one-off thing. It is a lifestyle, and as soon as people realize that, things get a lot easier because they have to. Otherwise, you don't keep going.
That's a really good point. It's about not when the good days, it's the bad days. We've got a question from the audience, the lovely Naomi Lambert from Western Australia. So she asks, what happens if something goes wrong or doesn't go as planned? How do you manage that?
Well, this is about, again, it's a bit silly, but you've got a plan for that. So there's a plan A and a plan B, and then there's contingencies, and then there's what if this happens, what if that happens, and there's always things that you don't think of. There's always things, like when I was like running businesses, and then like something happened in the personal life, right? So something that you probably don't really show a lot of just falls to pieces. And you've got to pick up those pieces while also showing up in your business or your brands or whatever it is that you do. And there is an element of do what you can with what you have, do what you can with what you're given. And there's only so much you can do. Like expecting someone to perform at their best when their family's ill or when someone passes away, it's like, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And some people do get quite hard on themselves. They expect so much no matter what. They expect I am bulletproof, I am Batman. They expect I am Batman about the whole thing no matter what goes on in their life. And some things are easier to plan for than others. And one of the big things that I used to do, again, when I had the businesses, I had the tennis, I had the basketball, is what people don't know, or you probably don't know, is I did the tennis and the personal training at the same time. So I had tennis coaching clients. I had to teach group lessons, one-to-one lessons. I also had fitness classes to teach. I had to exercise myself. I had fitness clients. And I was still trying to do, this is when I first started doing the online thing, right? Because it started off as an online thing. It wasn't really a business because anyone could do it. And it was like, I'll just go online and do it. It'd be fine. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. And a lot of it was spent trying to prevent things from happening. A lot of it was spent thinking about not so much like, it's kind of like plan for the worst, but hope for the best. So you act as if it's best case, but you've got plans in place for worst case. Everything from arriving early to sessions so that you can set up. And it's like, right, well, in order to do that, I need to leave even earlier. And I did stupid stuff like I timed the journey from one place to the other because I was working at different venues. So I had to time, if I had tennis at one place, fitness at another place, what was the time? And if I had to get there early to set up, I had to leave even earlier to factor that in. It's kind of like if you've like this meeting now was 9:00 in the morning my time. So I had to think, right, how long do I need to sleep? About 8 hours. When do I need to go to bed? When do I need to wake up to be able to eat something and drink something? And what if I wake up feeling groggy? Well, I need to take care of that before I go on so I'm not a complete mess for the show. And that's the way it is. It's not about like planning it. It's about if it's taken care of, if you think about those things, if you organize things, if you do your best to prevent those things, the world can still break. We're living through a pandemic right now, and the world can still do its thing, and you're still sat there going, well, there's my plans out the window, and that's just something that you just have to be okay with. You just got to accept that. You just got to be okay with it. And the problem is a lot of people don't have that gear. They don't have that level of acceptance. They don't have that level of, okay, I can do my best with what I have. I can do my best with what I'm given. But something completely out of my control can come along and I have to deal with that or be okay with that. And most of the time when you have to like cancel appointments or you've got to move things, most people are okay with it. If you give them enough notice, most people are okay with it. I've had to cancel stuff because I woke up feeling awful, like I've been hit by a truck. And I go, look, I just can't do my morning stuff. Something needs to happen. And most people are like, do your best to come in. But if you can't, then someone will be here. And I go, awesome. Thanks very much.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm going back to bed. I wonder, like, I've got a young son and his birthday today. Happy 16th. But he has autism, and I found that he is so much more resilient than other kids his age because he's had to manage and cope with people's ignorance and with being bullied and, look, all the horrible things that happen when you're a little bit different to other people. Do you almost see having cystic fibrosis and diabetes as your superpower? Because it's given you all of this amazing resiliency and understanding of yourself.
In some ways, yeah, but when you're in it, it doesn't feel that way. when you're sort of in that moment, it's like, no, I hate it. I just want it. The whole world can go away, shut the world out, lock myself in my room, and I'm not even going to come out until someone gives me food. That's just not going to happen. And that, I mean, it sounds funny now in hindsight because that happens very rarely now. But I had moments when I hated doing everything. I hated the working out. I don't enjoy working out anymore. It's been over a decade now. I don't enjoy any of it. None of it. There's nothing that I could do that I would enjoy it. And the sports that I used to play, I've coached. So it didn't feel like play. It felt like work. So It never, there's no like, I don't get a lot of enjoyment from working out because it's been so long. The endorphins don't happen anymore. It's just like, just do it, get it done, and get to the rest of your day. Is it a gift? Is it a superpower? I think if you focus on the positives, there have been a lot of them. There have been a lot of positives. I won't deny that. But in some ways, if people don't experience any form of hardship, they've got no reason to change. So when I talk to people that are struggling for motivation, and I don't understand that. How can you not motivate yourself to work out? When I was a personal trainer, I understood it because I don't have a choice. They do. And if you have a choice, you'll probably go for the easier option. You just will. Discipline's about doing something even when you don't feel like it. And unfortunately, if things get hard, you're not going to keep going if you don't have to. You're not going to keep doing the difficult thing unless you have to. I've probably got a lot of I'm just going to keep going. I've had moments when I wanted to stop the business, the brand, whatever it is, and just like, wouldn't it be great if they just disappeared? Just didn't have the responsibility, didn't have the pressure.
Oh my God, I hear you.
just sit there and go, you know what? I really don't want to do that interview today. I just don't. But you force yourself to do it, and you're stubborn. I am stubborn. That's a very harsh way of saying I'm just not going to stop. People say stubborn, but it's consistent. It's disciplined. It's focused. It's, I suppose, bulletproof in some ways, because the amount of people that would say, why are you doing that? What's the point? You shouldn't be doing it unless you're getting paid. The old story, right? I'm only going to work if I'm getting paid. And it's like, well, I can't think like that. I can't live like that. I can't do that. I'm driven by people feeling happy when I help them. Makes me feel great. So for me to turn around and go, okay, well, if I'm just not going to stop, I've got no intention of stopping, stubborn Batman. I've got no intention of stopping, no intention of giving up, no intention of stopping, no matter how much I feel like it in the moment, no matter how much I feel like, the podcast can just end, I don't need it, it doesn't matter, or whatever it happens to be, right? You have moments when it's like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I just can't keep going. The responsibility is too much. The pressure's too much. I've got no hope. And the next day you wake up and you go, well, what else are you going to do? How else are you going to spend your time? Because you're a horrible employee. You'll tell them that they're doing it wrong because that's the way I am. I'll be like, you can do this so much better, And it's like, Mike, you can't keep doing that. And I go, it's the way I'm wired. I can't help it. And that's something that I've had to get over. I've had to accept that. I've had to realize that I'm not really going to just get a normal job. It's just not going to happen. And that is a little bit stubborn, is a little bit like, come on, Mike, just accept it and move on. But the people that make it are stubborn. They are focused. They are consistent. They are disciplined. Or you can flip it from a positive to a negative if you want. So, are you stubborn, Mike? No, I'm disciplined. That's what it is.
A disciplined Batman.
Disciplined Batman, and that's the thing to think about. Is if you haven't got that level of training because you've never had to, you've never needed that. So why would you have it? You know, like if you're having, I suppose, an easier life, there's a bit less struggle going on. You know, if you're the amount of people that I see argue about what milk is in their cup of coffee in the morning is like, look, if that's the peak of your struggle, you're doing okay. You know, like that, you should probably just get over that. The amount of people that pick up on like the stupidest things to get angry about, I do it sometimes, and I go, Mike, what are you doing? What on earth are you playing at? There's nothing wrong with it. And people just don't have the amount of people that say, oh, everyone's got their struggles. And I go, there's probably different levels of struggle, though. I mean, come on. Like, are you really going to worry, I'm going to be 10 minutes late for work? Phone them and tell them you're going to be late. It's not rocket science. And people have this sense of struggle because their barrier for hardship, if you will, their like criteria for what struggle is, for what struggle means, for what hardship is completely like on the floor. Anything that's an inconvenience is like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And it's, get over it. In about a week or two, you'll completely forget about it and you'll move on and you'll do something else. And people don't think like that. And people don't, the amount of people that are still holding grudges and negativity from like years ago. And I mean, we all have like stories, and a lot of the things that we tell ourselves have sunk in over the years and causes us to not want to do certain things, you know, like traumas and things of that nature. So I get that. But if you're holding a grudge from someone because they cut you up in traffic or they said something that you didn't like a year later, and it's just like, there's something wrong with the way you're wired if that is what you're holding on to. If that is what your definition of struggle and hardship is, you could probably do with pushing your comfort zones a lot more. You could probably do with challenging yourself a lot more, pushing yourself a lot more, so that you experience what somebody else might actually go through on a daily basis. I challenge myself every maybe 2 weeks. Probably do 2 weeks. I don't do it every day because there isn't enough stuff that's actually as challenging anymore. There's only so much that you can do before it gets easy again. But when you start to challenge yourself, when you start to push yourself, and you start to have that feeling of, ooh, how is this going to work? You know, I tend to do it every 2 weeks, and it forces you to think differently. It forces you to respond to what you're feeling. And most people don't have that.
No, and what you're really talking about is self-leadership, is being able to acknowledge and recognise what challenges you and what doesn't, and then having the balls to go, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway, because I could sit here and I could complain, but that's not going to get me anywhere. It's not going to grow a business, and it's not going to make me happy. We're going to wrap up soon, but we've got another question here from Naomi. So she says, how do you choose to challenge yourself, Mike?
How do I choose? How do I make my choices? There's different ways. So there's mentally and physically and then emotionally. You can pick one. So emotionally challenging is about like letting go of the negative emotions, trying not to act emotionally or as emotionally, right? Different scales and spectrums and whatnot. Physically, I do that. I used to do that quite a bit because I had access to a gym and I was a PT and it was just dead easy. I was doing everything. I did like bodybuilding, CrossFit, strongman, cardio. I hated cardio, as you could probably guess. And it's just something that you can get used to. Now, physical struggle, hardship, challenges can impact you mentally as well. So the more you challenge yourself in any of these areas, they tend to cross over. So physically is the easiest one. It's the easiest one to do because you just do more than you did last time. And it just gets sore. You've got to convince yourself to keep going even though your head's going, just stop, it hurts. it hurts. Stop. You just keep going. You just push through it. You just keep going. And that is a challenge. That is something that challenges you mentally because you're ignoring the negative voices. And it's almost like you're acting in spite of them to a certain degree. And, mentally it's kind of, I don't know, mentally is a bit different because that's things like discipline, that's things like staying active, that's things like trying to handle the stressful situations as best as you can. And that all comes about when you're able to detach from it just enough so that you're able to take action and do your best. So when you're in stressful situations and they're brand new and they're challenging, there's only so much you're going to be able to do because it's a difficult situation. Sometimes people try to discount that. They say like, oh, you're not supposed to be stressed out. You shouldn't be stressed out. You shouldn't be worried. It's like, well, no, you probably should because it's a difficult situation that you're in. So it's actually more natural or more effective to feel the emotions, to feel the worry, to feel the stress, to feel the negativity, because it does the situation justice. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients that have turned around to me and say, I'm not supposed to be stressed. And it's like, but you're in a stressful situation. It's like if you're about to jump off a plane, you're going to be stressed. You're going to be worried.
I'd be stressed.
Yeah, me too. I think it's not. It's weird because we try to act in despite of it, or when it shows up, we still try to do what we think's best. We still try to do the best that we can, and part of that is just acknowledging the fact that this is a difficult situation. The first time I ever spoke on stage or on a podcast or a video or whatever it was, I don't remember it. It was too stressful. My brain was going a million miles a second. I've got no idea what I said, no idea what I looked like, no idea how I sounded, no idea whether it was any good because of the stress levels. And I had to actually acknowledge the fact that, this is difficult. This is hard. And sometimes you just got to be okay with doing the best that you can and not have expectations or standards or anything else. You just got to get through it. You just got to do it as best as you can, no matter what that looks like. And I have that feeling every couple of weeks where I've got to step up to the plate. I've got to do things differently, be better. And that's what drives me. It's that desire to be better.
Michael Bryan, or otherwise known as Batman, thank you so much for joining us tonight, this morning, wherever it is. Thank you for joining us at this time. I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, and I've got some nice little pearlers out of that I'm going to share.
Awesome. It's been great to come on.
Awesome. Thank you, and good night, everybody.